Assalamu alaikum. It is 16 hour 50 minutes. For the record, it is Wednesday, October the 1st, 2025. Alhamdulillah. So check this out, people. This is, you're hearing the application before what we call the Supreme Court of the land in Canada. And funny enough, as I read through the documentation that I yesterday have received, right, from the court in Quebec, right? Remember, I have the accused, right? So this is basically my, the file number, right, that I was released, right? Released from unlawful detainment, right? Check this out. So this is the, the Hull Detention Center. Right? So I was released. This is the name, right? This is my file, the accused, and I, AJ, aka Ahmed Jr. So this is my part application to the Supreme Court of Canada, because this is an application for executive order as well as emergency, right? Safeguard measures. So when I say executive order, this is because under the Superior Court of Justice, so to speak, we have something called the Constitution, right? So this is superior, and we have the Constitution of Canada, and the Constitution is the basically of Canada is the supreme law of the land that federally we call Canada. So basically, under the Constitution of Canada, Section 52. Subpart 1, or VII, the supremacy clause. That is any law, basically, that is, in contrary or in violation of the paramount law, right? That is the supreme law of the land, Canada. So the affirmation of and asserting Section 52, Subpart 1, Part VII of the Constitution Act 1982, because this is the federal law here in Canada, right? Constitution, right? The Constitution of what? Act 1982, and its parent law, which goes back to, the supreme law of the land, Canada. Now, Canada is federally incorporated, and we have 1982, the Constitution. So I gave you the name of the legal entity registered in my name. So now we have this paper, which I received yesterday from the Superior Court of Justice in Quebec, right? 17 Laurier. So this is basically the registry, the clerk, and essentially, this is the application for no disclosure of information contained in computerized records in criminal matters, because clearly, the accused is accused before criminal matters proceedings. So therefore, now the accusation, right? So there's basically two files that I have in my name, right? At least in the Quebec court. So this is basically the the Crown prosecutor information that I received, right? Because when I go, I'm self-represented. I'm seeking basically my matter to be resolved, not so I ping-pong back and forth. So I have two cases. The first one outstanding is 550-01-142373-259. All right, and basically the second incident, the file number, dossier, right? Numéro dossier 550-01-1342-26 242. Now, the second matter has been basically I have been acquitted of, and this document that I showed earlier was basically the date at which the judgment and the acquittal of this second, or at least this matter, the second one on the list previously, right? Basically, is about. So the date of judgment is basically the 16th day of August 2024, and this is, last I checked, it is over 1 year. So we are today the 1st of October, right? Yesterday was the 30th of September. The Truth and Reconciliation. So this is the Truth and Reconciliation because, you know, under the Constitution of Canada, right? When you are basically you are reasonable, or am I being acquitted? Of course, when I gave the clerk the copy, because, you know, this is the photocopy, I just basically rewrote, you know, to make sure that essentially my choice, my selection, why I believe I should be acquitted, because now you're dealing with the clerk. So this is because, you know, there's, of course, the acquittal and the information laid under section 810 through 810.2 Criminal Code, 1 year after date of dismissal or withdrawal, charge dismissed or withdrawn 1 year after date of dismissal or withdrawal, absolute discharge 1 year after date of order. So this date, this order, date of judgment, is the order date, the 16th of August 2024. That is the date of judgment. Now, a year later would be passed. So, therefore, I am acquitted. Because now, the minute you have a red mark on your name, for some reason, because now the same court matter, you see in my hand here, right, resulted in my unlawful arrest, detainment, and unlawful seizure and search, right, of my property, and later theft, without the prior and authorized signed consent of the authorized registered owner and the sole chief executive of the legal estate registered in the accused name, Ahmad Jr., aka, right, AJ. So under the Constitution, essentially, you know, I'm exercising my constitutional right, which is basically what? Under the Constitution of the Charter, right, Part 1, that's the Charter, we call it Charter. So remember, the Part 1 is basically the Constitution of 1982 in Canada. It's only to safeguard and protect your fundamental, as everybody, all of us. If you're a human being, that is, if you got an ounce of integrity to call yourself a human being, before you tell me you're Canadian, because clearly, if you're Canadian and you see your, you know, government corruption, you know, basically, and the horror stories that you can hear from coast to coast, you know, and, you know, here I am, standing before the court where I have been unlawfully arrested after I've survived the taser attempt by the Ontario Provincial Police on the 24th of August, right? So 8 days fuckery, I call it 8 days fuckery, right? And essentially I had been taken to the police custody, spoke with the Sergeant Rose, and you know, long story short, you know, I was basically detained unlawfully, simply for, again, asserting my unalienable natural rights and freedom, which are safeguarded by the Constitution we call Canada. So Supremacy Clause suggests that when you are in violation of the parent law, which is the Constitution, right? So you have the Constitution of the land, Canada, which is basically to what? Safeguard and protect. This is your federal. And then now you break, right? You break even, you know, the parent. You know, the parent, because suddenly, you know, you, as a police officer, peace officer, right? Municipalities, right here, rules and regulation, right? Rules and regulation. Then you go to common law, which is a superior court, you know, acts of parliaments within your own jurisdiction, be it Alberta, Quebec, right, or Ontario. So I named all these provinces, so starting with Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta, and the federal government of Canada. Because here I am basically being made the subject of a targeted individual discrimination, racism, or systemic, if it's by design, by the system. Because once you have, again, you know, a name, red flag, and why is the red flag there in the first place when, you know, they are, you know, going and acting in bad faith all along? So this is my application for emergency, and I demand immediate, within 48 hours, right? So we can send out the invites, public trial, Supreme Court. We have technology. I can just post my Google Meet link. It's public. Everybody can jump on, or you pick your favorite Zoom, and there's public link. It's not rocketry. Simultaneously, Google, so everybody gets a chance to speak, right? So I've said it before, and I say it again. I have no consent when there's a breach of trust, from municipal, local police to provincial police to federal police, the RCMP in Alberta, unlawfully seizing my property, driving all the distance from Ontario after I had been unlawfully detained again, right? On the 18th day of December 2024 through the 14th of January, where they managed to fabricate evidence, right? Because now I'm being unlawfully detained. They have the record. Only for me to be coerced and sedated after being unlawfully injected with 2 PRN unlawful injections. I did not consent. I had been picked up from under tree, just like this, Alfred Town. Yeah, I remember every single minute details. The Alfred Township, right? Ontario Provincial Police, Alfred Town Township. So they came and picked me up after they had dispatched the team. Why? Because I speak my mind. Why? What's it to you? What I do? I cause no harm. You have nothing on me. Yet you continue. You continue with your fuckery, 8-day fuckery, right? So essentially, there's a lot to talk about. Clearly, I, for that reason, request a public inquiry. So this is a motion, live motion. You're listening to this recording, right? It's near real time for you, hopefully, because by the time I upload, it'll be heard. So this is basically my executive order. So the motion is first to combine all court matters from the epoch that took time and place, right? And they have the record since the date of this file that has been opened on the 17th day of November 2023. They'll tell you the exact time, and we'll go through. Since as I have been acquitted, I have been acquitted, so you cannot go through that destruction of evidence. You cannot have any. Once I'm acquitted, I have gone through this court matter. The rest, we are all going to answer for. My private business is my private business. Let's do an audit, fine. Let's do an audit. Every single involved individual, let's do an audit. I have zero, right, to my name. That's fine. $0 in cash, perhaps, but I have assets, which is now subject of yet another fuckery court that I do not consent to in Belleville. Last I checked, I grew up here in the old city of Gloucester South, Ottawa, Ontario, right, the municipality of Ottawa, Ontario. So for the last 18 years, since 2007, I have been basically responsible first-time home buyer. And last I checked, I have no outstanding mortgage contract agreement with the commercial, right? Commercial Imperial Bank of Canada, CIBC. Let's bring the record, because now again the motion is to bring all these court matters that I will be naming. Because now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm acquitted now. All things happen. There's, remedies. But there's, again, we'll have to go through the court to decide, and that will give me all the time to come and demand what I believe is just. Not just for myself, for all the witnesses, the victim impact statements that, the people have to be interviewed. So we can go through. And again, it's optional. Not everybody has to show up. If you're a victim and you're not, that's why I can speak on behalf of my immediate family, my clan members, or my trusted tribe of Shihab. نحن الشهابيون. That's right. my Palestinian group, right? Supporters. Because I'm indigenous Palestinian. Alhamdulillah. Look, everything happens for a reason. Alhamdulillah. Al-Hajjiyya Kamal, she is sitting and she's talking to my cousin. My cousin in... وين مها؟ وين ساكنة؟ هولندا. أمستردام؟ وين؟ شو اسمها؟ ليس هيرلينغ؟ شو اسم المدينة مها؟ اسألي لي إياها. لا شو أولها كوبن شو؟ ما في كوبن؟ ما سمعنا. هيرلين ايرلين يعني هيرلين على حدود بلجيكا نير بلجيوم. هي بلجيكا اسمها. الحاصل ها الحجية ما شاء الله. So we are the ما شاء الله the chosen people, right? Imagine, like at the end of the day, like the fucker has to follow to Canada, and now they have to defame and character assassinate the person. So yes, if there's anything, we'll go through on my terms. Public trust, breach of public trust. So I'm requesting, as the sole chief executive of my bodily autonomy and legal estate registered in the accused name, right? And here it is. There's a close-up, perhaps you can see. Alhamdulillah, indigenous Palestinian, right? Muslim-born refugee. Alhamdulillah, look at this. You can't even understand Al-Arabiya. Okay, so basically this is my request, because it's really, you have no jurisdiction. From the get-go you have been acting in bad faith and trying to tarnish a solopreneur, entrepreneur, engineer. I had finished my degree in the field of aerospace electronic system design engineering, right, at Carleton University, 2009, with over plus 15 years of experience in the industry. What industry? High tech. Okay, startup, so in a very niche market verticals, semiconductors and its ecosystem, right, all the way to the electronics manufacturing system and arm in the cross wide range in application, from consumer, automotive, to like defense, military. Sure, I'm an entrepreneur. And now, simply because now we have a court matter for the unlawful breach of trust and jurisdiction between a man and a woman who had over 14 years of committed communal relationship under what? Common law. We were married in church. Yeah, she was Latina Catholic, so what? But we had a trust. We had an amicable divorce agreement that, unfortunately, she did not understand the implication. So, essentially, which leads me to my second case, which is now, the application is to bring justice, right? We all have to bring justice and bring the facts and evidence. Because at the end of the day, why am I talking? I need to see my daughter. I have been deprived from my own daughter, sole child daughter, because there's an allegation against the accused, right? So this is the So again, so this is the record, right? So this is the first court matter, as you can imagine. So ending with 242. This is the ending matter. That's the case for the matter that I'm acquitted of over 1 year of continued fuckery. So now this is, and oh yeah, we have to show that I'm actually free, so I'm not just talking out of misinterpreting my even though it's not English, by the way. You are in Quebec. Last I checked, Quebec is federally incorporated into the Greater Canada, right? Or Canada, right? Don't speak English, no problem. All right. So I have to show that page more. 4 pages, only 4 pages, you know, because when you take the matter into your own hand, you know, you simplify the process. So there was only 4 pages worth of a record. So the important part is to look at this. You know, it tells you where basically, you know, who the judge, basically the prosecutor, advocate for the pillagers, basically the pillagers, right? This is basically the registry, the clerks. This is the hour, basically, and what happened. Who is the accused? I'm present. This is the crown prosecutor is present. Obviously, it tells you for the accused, I have none. I'm self-represented. All right, so here, I'm self-represented. So now, if you go through and then you understand what just happened. So like I keep saying, the recording, the court proceeding had been since 9 o'clock happening, but you know, I only get to stand at 20, yeah, so 18:11. So the 18 minute after, so this is when you stand. Right, this is when you stand before the judge. So I was there for like 5 minutes, in room number 4, presumably. But okay, the 9 o'clock the court hearing happened, but I was only allowed at 2 hours 80 minutes following the court hearing for less than or 5 minutes total, and I got the CD recording. That's when basically I was being acquitted of my charges, because here I am refusing to basically consent for unlawful allegation as they had court motion, right?